Alright, so you've made yourself a little scene and you want to animate your camera moving through it. I'm going to Shift A, camera. I'm going to want to leave that exactly where it is. I'm going to hold Alt and press R just to reset my rotation. Next, I'm going to go into top view by pressing 7 on the numpad. I'm going to Shift A, curve, Bezier. I want to press Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to bring my left hand point all the way down to the bottom. This will be my starting point. I'm going to bring my point, and once again, similar keybinds to everything else in Blender. R to rotate, E to extrude, S to scale, and set up my path that I want my camera to travel along. Once I have my path set up, I'm going to make sure to lift it a bit above the floor there. I'm going to want to select my camera. I'm going to go down to my Object Constraints tab, Add Object Constraint, Follow Path. I'm going to select my Bezier curve, and I'm going to want to, with my camera selected, R, X twice, type in 90, rotate my camera 90 degrees on the local x-axis so that it is pointing forward. I'm also going to want to check the Follow Curve checkbox here. And so now, as I slide the offset value, you can see that it only moves when I slide it into the negative. You can see that the camera is following along the curve. However, there is one small issue with this, which I will illustrate here. I'm just going to reset the value to 0. I'm going to open up another viewport and set this one just to see through the camera view, hide my overlays, and then as we slide this value, you can see that the camera angle kind of overshoots each corner, and it doesn't really look into the corner like an actual human eye would, or just what we kind of expect. So, to solve that, with our camera selected and our follow path constraint, I'm going to want to right-click on the offset, and I'm going to copy data path. With that done, I'm just going to click on the path, and I'm going to add a driver here. So I'm going to type hashtag frame, and then I'm going to divide by 5. The larger this number is, essentially the slower the camera will move. And then since this value works from a scale of 0 to negative 100, I'm going to want to multiply by -1. So that will invert the value. And now when I press play, you can see the camera is automatically moving, but we still haven't solved that other issue. To do this, I'm going to need to Shift A, empty, cube. With the empty selected, I'm going to want to add a constraint. And I'm going to want to add the follow path constraint again. I'm going to add the Bezier curve as the target. In the offset, just right click, add driver. This is going to be a scripted expression. Down here under variable, we're going to change this to single property. Under prop, we're going to select camera, and then we're just going to press Control V, and that's going to paste the data path we copied earlier. Now, all we want to do is add an offset value, but since it's a negative, we're going to want to subtract it here. So I'm going to subtract 10. And what this is going to do is this is just going to make sure that our cube is following the curve always a little bit ahead of our camera. If I right-click on the purple field here, edit driver, I can change this value to -10. So if I change that to -20, you can see it's now farther ahead of the camera. I'm going to keep that around -10 for now. One final step, go to my camera, add object constraint, damped track, and I'm going to select my empty as my tracking object. You can see now my camera's rotation goes whack. All you need to do here is change your track axis to -Z, and it should work well enough. Now, when I press play, you can see that the camera will always be looking at the cube. If I turn on my overlays, you can see that the cube is always in the middle of the frame here, the empty rather. And with the empty selected, if I want to adjust sort of this tracking, I can just right-click on my driver, and I can change this value here. If I make it bigger, the cube will now be farther ahead. If I had our overlays here, you can see might be kind of looking a little too far forward. But yeah, just sort of play with that value. Depends on your scene and the scale of everything, how you want that value to be set. But just play with it until you get a result you're happy with. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions down in the comments.